Hello, you are watching Barbara Talks Business. I am Barbara Carr, and I'm here with Chris Steely today. Chris
Barbara,
is
it's great
with
to see you.
you as well. I am so excited about our topic. But before we go into that, I just need to do the basics. Let everyone know this is season 2, episode 9. And Chris Steely is with GPS Business Group. You'll get to hear more about that in just a moment. And today's topic is the future of productivity, human performance optimization. Now, this is one of the things that Chris is well known as an expert in this field, in this particular topic. Chris knows a lot of things. He's been teaching for a long time, but this is a very relevant topic, and Chris is the guy who knows about it. So you're going to learn today. I also want to mention that, again, you have an opportunity to win $50 cash. If you watch about midway through this show, I will explain how you can earn that. So let's go ahead and introduce Chris. Now I'm going to first read Chris's official bio, but then I'm going to share a little something extra as a surprise. All right, so Chris Steely is the founder of GPS Business Group, an organizational development and management consulting firm established in 2005. Specializing in business development, strategic planning, team building, and results-oriented execution. Engaging decades of leadership and experience from various industries and serving global markets, Chris has a reputation for his ability to help growth-oriented businesses that want to increase their sales, profits, and cash flow, as well as develop focused performance optimization strategies. That was a mouthful. Chris has been a professionally certified business coach and facilitator since 2003. He's trained business coaches in 26 countries, worked with Fortune 500 and major business consulting companies, and has a reputation for his ability to help growth-oriented business development focused strategies that work for them. Chris's background includes international management consulting, business ownership, corporate vice president in the technology sector, extensive corporate business development, operations and project management, service as an active duty United States Marine Corps logistics officer, NCAA National Rowing Championship and coach, and MBA. Chris's personal mission is to positively influence others through open communication, empathetic understanding, idealism, and contagious commitment to success. Now, that is Chris's official bio that, it gets read whenever he speaks and is on stage and stuff like that. But, I dig into the people that I dig up information on the people that I bring on the show. I do my homework on them. And in one place, I read that Chris is rated as one of the most effective business consultants and coaches in Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Indonesia, and across the United States and Canada. Chris is really well known, you guys, throughout our world. Like, he is a global expert, and we have him here on the show. And so I am so excited to introduce you to Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Barbara. It's always good to get a reflection on ourselves, and I appreciate you giving me a reflection on myself. It's good to hear. Thank you.
For sure. Yes. You are a very impressive man, and I hope that my audience enjoys you just as much as I have. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Before I ask the first question, I do want to remind my audience members that if you are watching this video live, we start as a live video on YouTube. Feel free to put a comment. If you're here watching it, I see we've got a number of people watching live right now. Say hello in the comments on YouTube. Let us know that you're watching. And then throughout the show, if you have questions, please ask them, because Chris is willing to answer them right here live for you. And if you can't think of a question now, or maybe you don't ask for whatever reason, maybe you're driving in the car and you shouldn't text and drive, maybe you want to reach out to Chris later, don't worry, we'll make sure you get his contact information. And if you happen to be listening to this on one of the podcasting platforms, because we convert it to audio later, I highly encourage you to check out the video on YouTube as well. Just look us up under Fuse Empire on YouTube. Oh, awesome. We have some people saying hello in the chat. Welcome, Chris. Look forward to hearing from you. I'm going to pop up Hometown Happenings here. That came through as the chat. So every once in a while, I might pop something up on here. So again, get your name out there. Hometown Happenings is a local business who will actually be on on the podcast in a couple of weeks. So this is a great way to show your face, is by putting comments up. All right, let's get into the questions. Chris, the first question seems like the easiest one because human performance optimization seems like a relatively new term. What in the world does that mean? What is it? Help us understand it.
Well, it's a TLA, right? It's a 3-letter acronym. Don't you love that? So HPO is what I call it, human performance optimization, and I've coined it based on. I mean, I've been doing this for a while now. As a kid, I excelled athletically, and got into business and just excelled in business and military, and I know how to optimize how people perform. So, until the Terminator plays out, or we're in the Matrix, right? Human beings are going to be the ones that operate business. So it's really important, if we're going to optimize business performance and results, that we optimize human performance in the context of business. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Yeah. And remember, guys, if you're watching this and it doesn't make sense to you, say, hey, does it make sense? Or if it does, say, yes, makes sense, right? Speak up in the comments. Awesome. So that does make sense. And you've been doing this for a long time. And you just shared one of my next questions, which is, why is this so important? I think you went right into that we're going to be running businesses as humans for a very long time. So what are the primary challenges that business leaders face these days?
Well, so here we are living in a world of crazy, uncertainty. We're still in the midst of a pandemic, the uncertainty, the division, and the first thing that we have to come to terms with as business leaders, and when I consider business, right, business is merely a mechanism of value exchange, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have something we want to provide that's valuable. Like, I have a nice pair of shoes, and I can exchange value for value. Let's say you make a good loaf of bread, I can exchange and barter shoes for bread, right? It's that
Right.
simple. I'm exchanging value for value. These days, if you look at currencies, right, global currencies, whether it be the dollar or all the currencies across the world, there's a relative inconsistency in the context of how that currency is exchanged. And I love the metaphor that is, look at the word currency. It's like a current that flows like through a wire, right? So that's what it is. It's the flowing of value in the form of these days digits, numbers, data, which is how currency flows. And so it's important to realize that foundationally. So then, to your question, back to that uncertainty, right? We live in a world where people just can't predict the future. So it's really important that if we have an idea and we have a concept, and I believe that everybody in your community does, Barbara, I love that you attract people that are forward-leading, they're idealistic, that are trying to make a difference in the world. It's really important that we're aware of how we can best innovate that and not do what everybody else is doing. That's probably the biggest challenge that I've found, is that everybody is out there trying to do something, right? And they're trying this and they're trying that. They're trying what other people are doing, and they're trying to be like other people. Well, my response to that word is, we all know Yoda from Star Wars, right? Do or do not. There is no try, right? So don't try, right? The key is to do it and commit to doing it in a way that's unique to you. Because we all bring that unique value as we exchange value for value. And don't dilute yourself, Don't try to be somebody that you're not by trying to be something that somebody else is, right?
Right, trying to fit
is
in.
Right. So we are here gifted. And too many people are trying to do something. They're trying to cut corners. Maybe they're trying to do things that they shouldn't be doing. So it's important that we are authentic to our true selves and change the way we think about business and innovate the way we deliver it. That's my experience.
Yeah, I love that, because you're right. In this pandemic that we're in, everybody is trying to find their place, right? Where do I fit in? Where does it make sense? Where are people wanting me or accepting me or needing me? And I love that response, because, just being authentic is what really makes us stand out. And it's sometimes so hard for us to really show up as who we really are in the world and in business. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what are the biggest barriers to business success that you found in all these years of coaching throughout all these different countries?
Well, so the first thing that comes to mind is actually a really good segue from the last component we're talking about. Is the first thing that we as business leaders need to do is understand who we are and why we think the way we do. And it also can be a barrier to business success if we don't do that. So it starts off with seeing things as they are, basically self-awareness, right? So
Okay.
I came into the world just like everybody else did, right? I was born, right? I had a parent, maybe a couple parents that did the best they could to raise me. And for the first 2 years of my life, I was a sponge, and that's when my character was sculpted and shaped, right? And I became who I am. And then for the next few years up until about 5, I learned to talk, right? I learned to engage. And then from 5 o'clock on, or from 5 years on, I'm kind of hardwired. You really can't change that character, and
Mm,
it's amazing how that relative functionality that we have as humans that's sculpted in those early years of life, or dysfunction, if you want to call it that. And I know in my life, I had loving parents and everything, but I also had a relative dysfunction in my life. And
yeah.
one day over a cup of coffee, we could talk about it sometime. But it's something that I had to come to terms with. So
Mm,
we have to know ourselves. Why are we doing what we're doing? Are we an employee? Are we a business owner? Well, great. Why have we chosen that path? Are we doing it for our reasons, or are we doing it for somebody else's reasons? And then, of course,
mm.
as we align with competence, are we actually competent to do what we're doing? And I think that's probably one of the biggest barriers to business success, is that people are, back to what we said, they're doing things for the wrong reasons. They're doing things because maybe their parents told them they should do it, versus actually knowing what their purpose is and following
Yeah.
a passion. That's probably the first barrier that gets to be overcome. And there's probably about 10 more, but I think that's probably about the biggest one in the context of this conversation. So,
You know what's interesting is I'll share two things to that point. The first thing is I'm attending a course that's through my church right now. It's called Renovating You. It's based on like the purpose is to heal some of your soul wounds, let God get in there and heal you. And one of the things we've recently learned was Eric Erickson's I think that's who it was called, Eric Erickson's, his stages of development. And as you were saying, right, like this early stages, when you're a baby, you're learning to trust, and then it's interesting to see the different stages, because you are right. If a traumatic event happens early in your life, or whatever you've learned or watched up until this age of 5, right, is pretty much becomes your culture and who you identify with. Even I have grown up, and like you said, my parents loved me. They did a great job on me, best they could, best any parents could. But then you grow up and you realize, wow, that dysfunction I had in my family was not normal. like that's like, and even with a great life, you still can have some dysfunction, and it can wound you. And then you're right, it does bring in barriers to your adult life and where you go with your career. And as a mother, um, that's one of the things that I've struggled with, is learning to let my kids make their own decisions. Like my son is about to be 18 in less than a month. And of
you
course
have an 18-year-old son? That blows me
I
away.
I do. And
Wow.
of course, I have my hopes and dreams for him. And, I cry for him often because I want him to go a certain direction, but I don't want to force him to do what I want him to do. I want him to go, God's will for his life. And when he makes decisions that aren't the way that I would have liked him to, I lament over those. Like I feel the pain, but at the same time, I have to trust that God is going to take him places that I could never have even dreamed of, you know?
And I'll dovetail off that, Barbara. You're right. I mean, I ever since a young age, my father was a Baptist minister, and ever since a young age, I made a conscious choice to surrender my life to my higher power, right? And that kind of tips my hand around the dysfunction that I had in my life. Is I got checked into Alateen when I was at 14 years old. My father checked me into Alateen because my mother was an alcoholic, right? And she passed about 40 years ago, so she passed when I was a kid. But the key is that I got to understand and learn the value of surrendering my life to a higher power and
Mm,
and, and a force and a source that actually has me on. I always tell people I'm kind of on autopilot, right? Or a remote control. I say I'm on remote control. And once I found that I do that, I'm actually equipping myself with a competence and an understanding and a force that's guiding
mm.
me in a direction that, frankly, some of the time I don't know where it's going, but I get to trust that, right, and believe, as long as I know, I'm sure in my heart that I'm following that guide. A lot of people don't know to do that. They don't know how to do that. So they end up maybe following the wrong compass, right? I know
Yes.
that my moral compass has got a solid true north, and I do my best to follow that every day, thanks to his guidance. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that, Chris. And you know, one thing that you don't quite know about me yet, because we're newer in relation with each other, is that I'm a newer believer. So I'm only about 5 years into my journey, and you're right. That is one of the hardest things, even especially as a new believer, is when I would start hearing, or hearing voices or feeling, driven to something. It was like, is this my will, or is this God telling me to do this, or is this Satan trying to trick me? Right? Like, it was very difficult to discern whose voice was speaking to me. I still work on that. I don't think I'm perfect at it yet, but I at least can discern it's not it's not Satan at some point, where I'm like, well, this matches up with the word of God, but still, is it God, or is it me just wanting to do my own will?
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
good. By the way, we could talk about this for the next hour if you want to. This is a
I
great
know,
topic.
right?
So, yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a great, and like you said, there's lots of barriers to business success. Uh, do you have, I know you do a lot of videos and blogs. Is there anywhere that you have like this specific topic where if people are interested in looking more?
So yeah, you mean the human
The
performance
barriers.
optimization concept? Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel, and
Mhm.
I always direct people, if you want to know more about me, my brand is GPS Business Group. So it's gpsbusinessgroup.com. And that website is pretty much the portal that opens up into my social media platforms. I've got you'll see in the upper right hand corner, there's a link to a YouTube channel, and there's a video, it's a 5-minute video that unpacks this concept of human performance optimization in a 5-minute video. And I've got dozens, potentially hundreds of videos out there all around performance optimization, what we can do as business leaders to be able to make sure we're optimizing results and success. That's one thing. Also, LinkedIn is a really good platform for me as well. And you'll see there's a link to my LinkedIn channel there as well. I've got articles that are published there as well. So yeah.
Perfect. And I will actually mention to my audience that I watched that 5-minute video that Chris talked about, and I'm going to be sharing that for you guys on my social media channels within this next couple of days, because Chris, we always promote the podcast for a whole week afterwards. But when people have other videos out, we try to promote their other videos as well as the podcast. And that was one of the ones I've already put on my list to tell my assistant Amber to post, because I was blown away. And I know you shared with me that this Disrupt HR does basically you take this 4 hours of content and fit it into 5 minutes. And I do agree that when I watched that video, I was like, I want more than just 5 minutes. And so we'll
Right.
talk about some of the components of that today, so that if the audience is interested, they'll know where to find you as well. But okay, so let's move on to one of the things that I noticed you talk a lot about, and I know that my audience would be interested in, is mindset for performance. So we all do talk, like, in the business world, it's very clear that you have to have a certain type of mindset. But you are the first person I've heard talk about doing mindset for performance. And I'd like you to share on that. And then I want to also remind people that if you have questions, comments, or concerns, put those in the chat. I'll be watching while Chris responds to this.
Okay. So mindset for performance. So I'll start the discussion as you're present with me and you're listening to me with the realization that we are all responsible for our fitness, right? Fitness. So back to my athletic background, I excelled athletically, and physical fitness was a component of success, right? So we have to take care of ourselves physically, making sure we're eating right, that we're staying conditioned and all that stuff. The second component of fitness is mental fitness, which is that mindset component, right? So we all are responsible as human beings, as we live in this world, to make sure that we're keeping ourselves as fit mentally as possible. Well, how do you do that? I think the first way to do that is, again, it's that self-awareness. I'm a big fan of profiling, Barbara, when it comes to doing a profile. You've probably heard of DISC profiles, maybe Myers-Briggs. There's different ways for us to be able to look at ourselves. So take an assessment. There's 360s out there that my corporate clients use to be able to allow people to get comprehensive, holistic perspectives on who they are. But it's really important that we understand who we are and why we think the way we do, and that we're fit in that capacity. Because a lot of people just go through life, kind of, I call it like the Forrest Gump life, right? Feather in the wind. Just like he says in the movie, we're going through life, and it's like a feather in the wind, right? And if the wind is the right type of wind, it's probably guiding us in the right direction. But it's our responsibility to make sure that we know what the direction of that wind is, where it's coming from, where it's going to, how strong it is, and how resilient we are to be able to operate in the context of that wind, specifically when it comes to mindset. So my mind, I've got a strong mind. I've got a brain just like we all do. And I think about my mind. My mind is my mechanism for processing things. As right now, people are listening to my voice, right? They're processing things through the vibration and the energy that's coming through their ears. They're seeing my face. They're processing what I'm saying through the mindset and the vibration of the frequency of the visions and the data that's flowing through their eyes, right? So realizing that our minds are kind of machines, right? It's our responsibility to maintain those machines and condition them just like we do with the physical fitness for optimal performance. Well, again, how do you do that? Well, I've got some perspectives on that. And Barbara, I know you well enough to know that you probably agree. Read books.
Oh, I love books.
Read books. That's a lot of people ask me, Chris, how do you know so much? It's because I've read books.
Yep.
I went to a private military boarding school when I was in high school, and they conditioned me. We had a summer reading list, and during the summer, I didn't want to read books in the summertime. I wanted to go to the beach, right? But it conditioned me to realize the value of reading books. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, books, they're great to read. What a great idea, but I don't have time to read a book, right? Well, that's a lame excuse, and it's no longer valid because now you can listen to books, right? Yep. Audible, podcast, what you're doing, Barbara, put that good, healthy food into your psychology on a regular basis, whether you read it or listen to it, right? So I found that books there's so many books. People ask me to recommend books. I've read literally hundreds, almost thousands of books on business success, ideally nonfiction books. And the secrets to business success are hidden in books. You just got to read them, right? Yeah. So that's one component of it. So understanding how we think and why we think, and then the mindset around always keeping the edge sharp through reading, and then feeding our minds, because again, there are biological mechanisms to make sure that we're feeding our minds with the right food, the nutrition that will allow us to be able to perform, because it is that mindset. I mean, and I think as I really process this answer, Barbara, the key to mindset is awareness of the environment we put ourselves in, right? Everything we're talking about, fitness, resilience, and everything. As soon as I turn on the TV and I look at the news, what's my environment, right? It's an environment of drama, of negativity, of division. And so I always encourage people to just stop watching TV. Yeah. Use TV, leverage TV as a learning mechanism, but turn off the drama, right? That will really help create and cultivate a mindset that's a positive orientation. Don't stay naive to the news. We have to stay up to speed on what's going on, but turn off the drama and get away from all the negativity and the reasons to complain, right? And stop being a complainer. Be somebody who's oriented toward what can be and what the possibilities are. So just some perspectives on mindset. I could keep going. Do you want me to keep going, or you want to embellish this, maybe go deeper with some additional questions? I would love to hear from you, Barbara.
So, no, I want to say I love all of that, and I'll make a few comments to it. One of the interesting things about our home is that we do not have a TV in our living room or in our bedroom. And whenever we get guests, they're always like, "Where's your TV?" And I'm like, my husband and I both prefer books, and like we do YouTube on the computers and stuff like that. And we are both business owners, so like we don't really watch TV. Now, occasionally, if we want to watch something, we can pull it up in on the computer, or we have a TV in the family room that's in the lower level. But what's interesting about that is that it was kind of like when we both realized that neither of us wanted to have a TV out in like the room where we're supposed to hang out with people. It was like one of those moments like, oh, we're made for each other. But and then the books, you're right, I love books. And I want to talk about the book that you have right now, or in just a moment. But first, I want to ask if you have. I know you get asked a lot about book recommendations, and there are so many. But what book or books are you currently reading?
By the way, I love the question because by the way, I surround myself with books. Same. And notice what I'm doing right now is I look over here. I'll just. This happens to be in my right hand. Whatever. The book is called Beyond Biocentrism. This was a book that was recommended to me, and it's about rethinking time, space, consciousness, and the illusion of death. That just happens to be in my right hand. And I've got bookshelves. I surround myself with books. Foundational books in life that I think are really important for all of us are Think and Grow Rich.
Love that one.
Think and Grow Rich. Everybody's got to read that book. If you haven't read that book, read it, listen to it, or whatever. Yep. One of my foundational books is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen.
Okay.
And it allows us, again, to be able to make sure that we're cultivating the way we think to be able to live the life we want to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, foundational books in life.
Mm.
But I mean, there's just so many. I'm looking. Oh, there's so many. But I think those are foundational books in the
Yeah.
context of business. A lot of people ask me about business success. I'm a big fan of Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Mm.
He's got some really good concepts in there around how good businesses become great businesses.
Yeah.
I actually was featured in a book called GPS for Success. I co-wrote a book with Stephen Covey, John Gray, and Les Brown. And I've got a chapter in there that I talk about inspiring your possibilities. And that's a good perspective on mindset and really kind of coming to terms with what we're up against, what the reality of our situation is as a global society these days, and then what we must do, or what we could do if we so choose, to overcome any constraints that are holding us back. But I could talk to you all day long about books. So yeah. But the key is,
So,
what's your affinity? What do you love? I like skiing. Really good book called Inner Skiing by Galway and Kriegel, if you're into snow skiing. And it's not just about snow skiing, it's about life. And those are just a few of literally hundreds that I'm looking at right now that I could refer you to. The Bible, great book, right? Read
yeah.
it, right? Understand what it means and what it's teaching. It's prolific, right? There's just
Yeah.
all these books that are in front of me, right in front of my face. So,
Yeah, love that. And so, if somebody wants that free chapter, I know that you can download that from your website, gpsbusinessgroup.com. So keep that in mind. Now, I want to mention that when I was doing my research, as I do, here's what I read about the book as well. So I want to share that with my people. Chris, obviously, you know this, but I want to share it with them. Navigating your way along the path to success can be difficult. Wouldn't it be easier if there was some device that could steer you from where you are to where you want to go? Much like a global positioning system, which is what GPS actually is, the goals and proven strategies you will find in this book, GPS for Success, can do just that. All you have to do is read it and apply the sound advice these hand-picked, extremely knowledgeable business leaders provide. Again, Stephen Covey, Dr. John Gray, Les Brown, just some of the people who are in here. And so definitely check it out. In fact, Chris, I have on my right side, I downloaded my copy.
and
Right?
you printed it out. I love
I
it. That looks
did.
good.
I like tangible stuff. I'm one of
Good,
those people.
good.
So I printed it
Kinesthetic.
because I want to circle and highlight.
Right. And so that's chapter 4 of the book, Barbara. And you can actually download that chapter for free from gpsbusinessgroup.com. You'll see there's a link in the upper right-hand corner just to download it for free, and it's yours. So just take it.
And in fact, I would have liked to have gotten the actual book, because I will get the actual book. I would have liked to have had it before this call, but I slipped up. I didn't do this quick enough, the prep work. But I am going to get the actual book too, because I do like physical, tangible things. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, so let's move on. I want to talk about some of your core values, because again, as I did my research, I found your core values quite intriguing. Many of them I relate with, and so I want to bring those up. So let's talk about servant leadership. Why is that your core value?
Okay.
Tell us the
Yeah.
stuff about that.
So just real quick, lesson on core values. If you're in business, regardless of how big or small your business is, you must have core values. They actually define the essence of your business and the value that you provide. And so it's really important to make sure those are in place. I mean, it's just foundational work.
And
So
listed. Have them listed
right,
so people can see what you stand for and what you won't stand for.
right, because the key is if you say, oh, I got core values and they're great, but I haven't listed them, then you can't be held accountable to those core values. Once you make them public and you list them, then, well, I guess I got to be serious about these. And so it's important to go through that exercise to actually exhume those core values and make sure that they're published. So as you say, servant leadership. For me, it's funny, as I think back to my time as a leader, right? And we're all leaders in business, life, and family, or whatever, right? My time in leadership, I've been called an extreme leader because I've served in a wartime scenario, right? The Marine Corps is they call the last bastion of pure leadership, because as an officer in the Marines, you're leading people potentially to their demise, right? And that's,
Yeah.
how do you compel people to want to do that? And for me, that's leadership, right?
Yeah.
So leadership is best exemplified. I could talk to you all day just about leadership and what it means and maybe make some distinctions about it. For me, leadership is all about serving the people that I'm leading first, right? It's not an attitude about, well, hey, I'm a leader, so it's about me. And unfortunately, in our world these days, Barbara, our leaders, I say with air quotes, are people that are all about themselves and they look good. And, hey, I'm the leader. That's not what leadership's about. For me, leadership's all about making sure that I have a heart of service and knowing that I am here to serve the people that I'm leading. I would actually tell my Marines, I had a company of Marines that I commanded early in my Marine Corps career. And I got them standing there in formation, and they were also, and they see this captain, and it's like, wow, this guy. And I said, Marines, I am here to serve you. And I'm here to make sure that your families are taken care of, that your lives are taken care of, and that you are competent and you're equipped and you're physically fit, you're mentally fit, and you're emotionally fit to do the job. And they didn't know what to think about that. Because that's the level of servant leadership that I believe and I espouse, whether it be in the military, in business, in your church, in your family. As long as we have that heart of leadership that we are here to serve the people that we lead, that makes all the difference, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, like you said, we're all leaders. I find that I have a servant heart, right? Like in everything I do, I just want to serve others. And in fact, I just recently started helping the school that I grew up at. They needed a little bit of help in their office. And I was like, hey, I homeschool my girls. I could come in and help a little bit, try to create some systems for you guys, see what I could do for you. And the lady who I am like supposed to be helping, like I'm the assistant to her, I think she just didn't know how to have an assistant because she's so used to doing everything on her own. And I'm like, I'm here to serve you. My job is to make your life better. So tell me what I can do to make your day amazing, right? And I want to serve. I don't like to just sit around and hope things come to me or hope somebody else does something. And I really value people in my life who also have been servant leaders. And so actually I want to put that out there to the viewers. Put in the comments who you have in your life that you see as a servant leader. Tag them if they're on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever you're watching this. Tag them. Tell them how great they are and how much that they've led you and inspired you through their servant leadership. So, okay, Chris, let's go on to another one of your core values. Another one I resonate with, family and faith first. Tell us about your family, a little bit about your faith, and tell us, well, I know why these are so important because they are to me too, but go ahead and share your take on it.
Okay, so I'll introduce you to my family. My family, I was born from two parents that, again, did the best they could. One was raised in Indiana, one was raised in Kentucky. I was raised in northern Indiana as a child. And then
Which
I ended
part,
up with,
Chris?
northern. So you ever heard of Culver? Culver,
Yeah,
Indiana?
so I'm in like Valparaiso, Indiana.
Oh, you're Valpo. I love it. You're just down the street. I was raised at Culver on Lake Maxinkuckee there.
Perfect. Okay.
So I love that. So you just tipped your hand, Barbara, that living in the Midwest, you are a values-based person. And that's one of the things I was raised for the first 13 years of my life was that those Midwest values, that corn-fed, cornbread, right, attitude of honesty, trust, caring for one another, right? And that's a value that's always been very, very key to my life. And those family values were woven into my heart. I've got three sisters. I've got several nieces that have been procreated over the years. And my wife and I got married 20 years ago. And we live now here in Southern California after a lifetime of adventure. So for me, my priorities are my family, as everybody should be their priorities. I mean, if you have kids, making sure that they're focused on, that you're focused on their lives and making sure that they have a great example from you as a parent. If you're a kid, making sure that you're empowering your parents to be the good parents that they must be. And I'll tell that I've been in situations. I mean, I've been around the block, and I was raised as a child and everything, and I was a teenager and I was rebellious. And I look back on those times where I regret that I maybe said something to my parents that I maybe shouldn't have said, right? But when my mom passed, I was 20 years old when my mom passed, and she knew how much I loved her. and she knew that she was my best friend, right? But I made it a point to make sure that she knew how much I cared for her. My father, he lived at a ripe old age of 80. He passed about 10 years ago, and he and I were best friends as well. So for me, that family, it flows both ways, whether it's family that we have that we create, or it's family that have created us. We
Yeah,
get to make
I
sure that
like it.
they know how much we love them and appreciate them every day,
Mm.
consistently, right? So those family values are so important because that's what we've got. So,
Oh, I love that. Chris, you're making me tear up here. I'm a big crier and I'm about to cry.
well, I'm
Um,
glad. That means we're in the right space, Barbara. Heart
yes.
space.
So this one I am dying to hear more about. Tell me about the GPS Business Group Fun Policy.
Okay, so yeah, this is good. So as human beings, we all have certain things in common. Like, Barbara, you and I are talking, right? We have ears, we have eyes, we're connecting and everything, and we have faces and we have feelings. We happen to be different genders, but hey, we're human beings, right? So we
Mhm.
have so much in common. One thing that we do have in common, and I want everybody listening to apply this toward business, right? Business, right? We have to exchange value. Business, we got to make profit, right? And we got to do things that are serious. We got to get results. We got to make sure we're counting the numbers and looking at the books and everything. But as human beings, what do we all want more of? What? We all want more pleasure, right? We
Yeah.
all we all we all want more pleasure. We want less pain, right? I,
Yep.
I don't want to be in pain. uh, at the
Mhm.
same time, I also understand the value of conditioning and having to, one of my favorite statements is life and joy in life lies beyond your comfort zone. So
Yes.
I'm not here to tell you to be comfortable and to be complacent and be comfy cozy all the time, because we have to condition and challenge ourselves to be
Mhm.
strong and to be competent. But we also have to have fun, right? And if
Yeah.
we're not having fun in business, right? If we're not making it fun, because again, I love your style, Barbara. You're fun. You're
Yeah.
easy to talk to. You're easy to engage with. And what we get to do as business leaders, even though business can be stoic and it can be, disciplined, we got to have discipline. We got to make it fun, right? And that's a
Yeah.
value. You got to have fun. It's a core value of mine. So,
Yeah, what's really interesting is, my business name Fuse, it is an acronym. Oh, yeah, isn't it? Well, what you said earlier, like the HPO, right? And not necessarily, I think that's an acronym. I'm not an English major. But anyway, Fuse stands for fun, useful, strategic, and easy to implement. Like that is the basis of everything I do. So that little F that you see down in the bottom corner, that literally means fun.
love it. We have that in common. Love the core
We
values.
do. We do. So, okay, let's move on. All right. Let's do a brag time real fast. Brag time is Barbara's random acknowledgement of greatness. So I like to feature somebody, and this person never knows that I'm featuring them. This is completely a surprise. If you happen to know this person and you're watching this, you should tag them so that they could see it. I don't tag the people to tell them. I just hope that someday they stumble upon it. But so today I want to brag on Amy Brailey, who wrote this book. I'm trying to see which camera I have, which is called Behind the Veil. It was just published, and guess what Barbara got? Barbara got her autograph, right? I got a little note written. She goes to my church, and she's a school teacher at the school that I grew up at. Unfortunately, I never got to have her as a teacher, but I know she's an amazing teacher. She's changing lives, and I just want to brag on how awesome she is. I have not read the book yet. I've only had it for about 2 days, but after I do, I'm going to be leaving a review for her. So congratulations, Amy, for publishing your book, Behind the Veil. All right. And so now I want to just let the audience know that this is your time to win $50 cash. This has been going on for a couple of weeks now. Nobody has won yet, so it is out there, $50 cash if you want it. All you have to do is decide on which name this next segment should have. So whatever name you think, like right now it's technically this or that, but again, that is boring. I don't want to call this segment this or that. That's what I'm calling it right now because I don't have another option. But if you come up with the name for this segment, and Chris, you qualify as well, if you put to put in an entry, you need to just put a comment on the YouTube video. And if I choose that name for this segment, you will win $50 cash, and it will be sent out to you right away. So Chris, how this works is I will say just 2 words. And then you start talking from there. Tell us your preference or whatever comes to mind, okay? We will start with an easy one. Dogs or cats? And those of you who are watching, put your answer in the chat. So Chris, dogs or cats?
And I could just say anything now?
Yep.
I love them both.
Do
I
you have
prefer
any?
cats, but I currently live with dogs. I've been a rescue. My wife and I actually had a pack of dogs at one time that we rescued them all, and they all eventually passed. And that's one of the problems with animals is, as humans, we typically outlive them, but we have to
Yeah.
love them while we've got them. So I'm kind of a cat person. It's weird for a guy to say he's a cat person, but I love the essence of the feline spirits. But right now I've got an 80-pound Siberian Husky who's sitting right over here.
Oh, I
Love the
think
dog.
my baby boy is probably sitting underneath my chair. He's a dog. His name's Buddy.
Yeah. Well, their lives too, Barbara. I mean, again, they're wonderful little lives that we got to be responsible for, and just love those too. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Next one. Are you a morning person or night owl?
I have conditioned myself to be a morning person because there's a lot of value in having the discipline to be an early riser and actually get my fitness in early, make sure I do my meditation, make sure I get my reading in, and start the day with on the right foot. It's not necessarily easy to be a morning person, but I find that in my life, as I've actually had the discipline to be able to foster that, it makes a bigger difference. So that's what I am.
Nice. So I am by nature a night owl, but I am working on trying to be a morning person. I'm getting better at it. My husband's great at it and he helps me. We started doing our devotionals together in the morning before we go separately with our alone time with God and then about our day. And that has helped me. Knowing that I get to get up and the first thing I get to do is just spend time on the couch with my husband has motivated me to get up. So we've been getting up about 6:30. I'd like to make that closer to 5 or 5:30, but hey, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, that's an
And I
effort.
used to stay up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning doing work. So I'm
Well, there's
grateful.
something we said, by the way, about being a good sleeper. We also, it's been proven back to success and everything. We have to make sure we get our rest and sleep. And some of the time it's hard to pull yourself out of a good sleep, right? I love a good sleep. So making sure you're sleeping well, but then also for me, I've conditioned myself now, Barbara, that I wake up about 5 o'clock. I actually wake up before my alarm goes off because I'm enthusiastic because I know the day I'm headed into. So yeah.
I look forward to that day. Okay, so here's the last one then. Humans or machines?
Oh, that's a good one. It's interesting. Back to the metaphor I used before, like Terminator and the Matrix, right?
Uh-huh.
Until those models play out, until machines run humans, humans are going to be the ones that run machines, right?
Mhm.
And as human beings, we are kind of machines. Another really good book. It's by Ray Kurzweil. Is like, are we spiritual machines? That's the title of the book. Are
Okay.
we spiritual machines? And we have biomechanisms and processes. So I think that if we can treat ourselves with the same respect that we treat machines, as in making sure that they're well maintained, that their gears are lubricated and they're running well, they get good fuel in them.
Mhm.
So that we have the discipline to run our human mechanisms like well-oiled machines. That's a good bridging of the two together, I think. Is that good?
Yeah. Yeah, that is. I like that. I do like that. So, and I've actually heard a saying before of, we take so much time to take care of our car, make sure it has its oil changes and stuff, but we don't really do that to our own bodies and minds and stuff, right? We don't take care of us like we do our car or machines, right?
Right.
Okay, so I just want to let the audience know that this is your last opportunity to ask any questions in the chat. I'll watch for them in just a moment because I did step away from the chat for a second. But while you guys are thinking of your questions and typing them into the chat, I'm going to ask Chris for some of his contact information. And I also want to talk about the virtual wisdom fire circle.
Okay, well,
So
thank you
go
for
ahead
that.
and tell us
So,
what that is.
okay, so again, gpsbusinessgroup.com. If you go there, you can download the chapter, Inspiring Your Possibilities, and you can also see there's some social media links. And you'll also see at the top of the page, contact us. When you click on that, my phone number's there. So call that number. And also there's a contact record on the website as well. So that's how we stay in touch. I love LinkedIn as a way to stay connected, and you'll see there's an icon to be able to click through onto my business LinkedIn profile. And on that LinkedIn profile, you'll see that it is tomorrow night, by the way, Barbara, just to be clear, we talked earlier. Tomorrow night, and you'll see it's an event that's on my LinkedIn page, is a virtual wisdom fire circle. And what this is I love walking on the beach, and some of the time I'll walk on the beach at night, and it's dark, and all of a sudden I see off in the distance, I see there's a little bit of a beacon, a little bit of a light, and as I get closer to it, there's somebody's having a bonfire on the beach, right? So I pull up a stump and I gather around, and we have conversations around this virtual bonfire via Zoom every Wednesday night at 5 o'clock Pacific, which is 7 o'clock Central. And the key is just go to that LinkedIn profile, go to my LinkedIn page, and you'll see how to get access to it. There's a Zoom link.
Perfect.
We started at 7 o'clock Central, and we go for 60 minutes, and it's amazing some of the conversations that we have around this virtual fire. So come one, come all. Would love to see you there. And we call it a wisdom circle because it's not just about my wisdom; it's about everybody's wisdom around the fire that's shared.
That's good. That is really good. So yeah, keep in mind, guys, like he said, you go to his website, go to his LinkedIn page from the website, and then you can go to his events from the company page. But I also put a link here. You could pause it while you're watching the replay, so that you could go directly to it if you need to. And then
and
Chris,
by the way, too, also link with me via my personal LinkedIn site as well, which is just Chris Steely, and you'll find me. And please, let's connect. I'd love to get to know everybody and love to get to know you and determine how I can better support you and serve.
Perfect. And then, Chris, on the podcast application, when I asked what is a practical next move action step for people who might be watching this and they've just learned a whole lot of new information, you said take yourself on. What does that mean?
It's kind of what we talked about before about that mental fitness is understand who you are. I mean, here I am, Barbara, talking to you as a human being, right? With a flesh and bone. I got blood, I got guts, I got, but that's not who I really am, right? Who I really am is what you're seeing as you look into my eyes and you look into my soul. So I'll challenge people to go past the superficialities of just the body and realize that who we really are is the spirit that exists within us, and understand that. Take that on, right? Back to a book. One of the best books I read in my life that really kind of started my journey around personal development is The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck.
Yeah.
And great book. I read that when I was 16 years old. And the title's a good metaphor was choose to take the road less traveled. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Take yourself on to understand what your purpose is. Why did God put you on this planet? And live life with that level of awareness. And don't dilute that passion and that purpose by trying to be somebody that you're not, right? So that's what I mean by taking yourself on. And there's so many ways to do that. Again, read books, do personality assessments. And I'd love to have a discussion around, if you're in business, taking yourself on. Why are you doing the business that you're doing? And how can you innovate the way you think so you can deliver value even more effectively? So don't just do what's comfortable, right? Which I like comfort just like anybody else does. Turn off the TV, crack a book, read a book, listen to more of Barbara's podcasts, and continue to exhume that essence and that capability that we all have in our hearts. That's what I mean by taking yourself on. So.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you guys have your practical next step. Make sure you do that. If you have questions about it, reach out to Chris. He spells his last name 𝗕𝗕𝗦, right, Chris?
That's it. And by the way, notice the word, it's actually an adjective. It's of steel. Steel. It's an adjective. It modifies a noun.
Neat.
I'm a man of steel.
That's
my
cool.
responsibility. And that is my metaphor for my power and possibilities. What's your metaphor for your power? What is your responsibility while you live in the world? Don't dilute that power. Let it loose and be the person you were meant to be.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that. Okay, and then Chris is offering for Fuse fans, those of you who are watching or listening to this, he is offering a seat at his exclusive Mastermind Wisdom Circle event, which is a $97 value. In order to get that, you need to reach out to him. Chris, is it best for them to reach out on LinkedIn or via email or a different way?
Yeah. So, well, the email address is on the contact from the page. So just email me. And again, LinkedIn's great as well. As soon as I see the connection request, and then we can connect via message on LinkedIn as well. And that, yeah, that $97 process, by the way, is I bring you into a deliberate circle with some other prolific business leaders, and we actually spend 45 minutes to an hour unpacking your specific situation and telling you what, frankly, you need to know to be able to do what you want to do with what you bring into the space. So that's what that wisdom circle is about. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's one of the reasons why we do the podcast application, because then I remember, even though you filled yours out, I don't know, a month or so ago, we book up obviously. And so it's like, oh, I want to make sure to remember the things that you put on there. And so we appreciate this, because I know that just getting wisdom from you is awesome. But to be able to bring in some other people who could also add value to the people who are coming in to glean from you, I think is amazing. So those of you who are watching or listening to this, I highly recommend that you take Chris up on this offer. In fact, I'm going to be taking Chris up on this offer. And I'd like to hear about it. After you take him up on the offer, let me know how great it is. And share, like, review people. When you think people are awesome, tell other people about it. Don't keep that a secret. So if you do decide to do business with Chris, or buy his book, or get his free download of his chapter, or watch any of his videos, share those. Tell people what you get from them, because sharing is caring. So with that said, Chris, I've asked all of the questions I want to ask. Is there anything we didn't discuss that you would like to talk about?
Well, I could talk all day long with you, Barbara. I mean, I love your spirit and the style. And by the way, here's the book. This is your book, Barbara. I'm putting it in the mail today. You will get
Oh,
your book to you,
thank
and I'll
you.
autograph it so you'll have it. And
Yay.
but I guess the key is, as we kind of wrap this up, Barbara, is we could continue to talk. But notice how rich the conversation's been. Notice that it's been
Yeah.
guided through an authentic spirit of collaboration and community and service. And
Yes.
you're the type of person, Barbara, that I could talk to all day long, because you're resonating from that same frequency. And the key
Yeah.
is as we understand ourselves, get to know ourselves, take ourselves on, and be the people that God put us on this planet to be. And then and only then can we serve with power and passion and competence and capability, and have successful businesses. So thank you for what you're doing.
You're welcome. Thanks so much, Chris, for being here. And I look forward to taking advantage of that wisdom circle opportunity. We'll be in touch. And after I read your chapter of the book, I will definitely be leaving a review.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.